Welcome to your astrological forecast for the week of Monday, January 10th through Sunday, January 16th. And this week is an interesting time. It's sort of a pivotal week. It's very much a transitional time. We do have Mercury turning retrograde at 10 degrees of Aquarius this week. We also have Sun passing over Pluto, and I'll talk more about what that means. And then throughout the week, we have the moon waxing or gaining light from Aries through Cancer. And we'll actually already start to feel the vibes, the themes, and we'll start to experience the themes of this coming full moon as soon as this coming weekend. Now, the reason why I say this week is sort of a pivotal time, it's a transitional time, is for a couple reasons. One is because we're still coming into this new lunar phase that started with the Capricorn new moon at 12 degrees that happened on January 2nd. And I said this was very interesting because it happened at the same exact point that we had a massive conjunction in January of 2020. And so I said it was sort of marking, to me, what I thought represented the rebirthing of COVID in a way. And I think that that is very prevalent now with the policies that have been set out by many governments around the world. But it's not just that. It's not, I think that's just one sign of a new phase that we are entering. And I think we can all kind of feel things quietly, or maybe not so quietly, beginning as we enter this new sort of dimension, because we're always kind of going in and out of dimensions. So we're going into a new chapter, if you will. And part of this too is not just the lunar phase, it's also Jupiter, which has just entered Pisces. And in the coming couple of years, we'll have a moment, a long moment, where we'll have Neptune, Jupiter, and Saturn all in Pisces at the same time. And this will bring about a sort of meltdown of the structure of society. There's sort of going to be a collapsing of that structure. And so we're already beginning to feel that since Jupiter has recently entered Pisces, but it will really ramp up next year in 2023 when Saturn enters Pisces as well. So we're already kind of feeling this as we're going into this new phase here, getting deeper into the 2020s. Now, let's go more specifically here, excuse me. We start out Monday, January 10th. We do have a couple aspects. So we have the Sun at 20 degrees Capricorn, making a sextile to Neptune at 20 degrees Pisces. And I think this is really beautiful. So it is kind of maybe affecting us more on a global or societal scale. It's affecting our collective consciousness because Neptune is a sort of outer planet, so that's how it generally will affect us. But I really like this because the Sun in Capricorn means that at this time of year we're wanting structure, we're thinking more long term about our goals and finances and our foundations, what supports us. Those are the general themes of this general time of year. So we're feeling that energy, but then that energy is making this harmonious connection to Neptune and Pisces, which is much more fluid and creative and spontaneous and more kind of mystical or spiritual. So there's this combination of structure or discipline with creativity or flow. And so I think this is actually really powerful to combine both of these. So this is really great for maybe getting inspiration for a new project or, maybe working on a project that you're already developing and having some creativity or inspiration on that. It's also great for gaining clarity, gaining perspective, because combining these Capricornian and Pisces energies is really great for getting a really big picture of our surroundings and the true meaning of what's going on. Pisces with the spiritual sort of consciousness, and then Capricorn with that more stoic, stoic, just observational idea, the picture of the long term as well, kind of bringing into that. So this aspect is really good for creativity, inspiration, planning, envisioning our futures that we'd like. And it's really great for just gaining inspiration as well, gaining creativity. Also on Monday, we have Moon entering Taurus about midday Eastern Standard Time. And so this is really nice for a couple reasons. One is because the Moon is exalted in Taurus. So generally speaking, we feel more stable and, emotionally stable when Moon is in Taurus. Now, Uranus is in Taurus, so the Moon does things do get a little bit unpredictable as the moon will cross over Uranus in the next couple of days here, but But this is also stabilized by the sun, which is in Capricorn. So as the moon enters Taurus, it's not only exalted, but it's also preparing to trine the sun. And trines are easy, harmonious aspects. So we should feel that transition about midday, feeling more grounded, more calm, more emotionally secure and balanced, generally speaking. So that's definitely something to look forward to. Going forward to Tuesday, January 11th, this you can see here, this is where the moon crosses over Uranus, and they are being loosely trined by the sun and by Venus, so this could bring about some eccentricities, some unpredicted events or circumstances, some shifts in consciousness, which all of that can be destabilizing and kind of shocking. But, like I said, this is all grounded by these Earth trines with these Capricorn planets here. So this to me would suggest that whatever changes are occurring, whatever, frenetic or scattered energy, whatever new things are happening, it suggests that they're generally positive or easy to adjust to. And with these earth trines, it's suggesting that these are changes in our resources, in our finances, maybe in the structure of our society in some way. These are kind of mostly inner planets. I guess Uranus is an outer planet, but I would just expect kind of, edits or changes to our resources, finances, the structure of our society. But these would appear mostly benevolent. These are positive changes that are relatively easy to adjust to because of these trines. Also on Tuesday, Mars at 20 degrees Sagittarius makes a square to Neptune at 20 degrees Pisces. Um, Now this is a little bit, it's a much different energy. So this is bringing about a lot of restlessness and almost like impatience, like really wanting to be creative and like ask the bigger questions. I think this could be really great for wanting to gain clarity. And as the moon crosses over Uranus, the similarities between that aspect and Mars squaring Neptune in Sagittarius and Pisces respectively, the common thread between all of that sort of mess is that I think all of these energies are sort of impatiently and maybe disruptively wanting to gain greater consciousness and make improvements and kind of have a greater understanding of our reality, basically. So these energies are all great for those shifts in consciousness or gains in perspective. Mars square Neptune in particular can be kind of violent or belligerent, so I would definitely stay away from like toxic substances, alcohol or drugs. I would want to be, very secure with that. Mars square Neptune could also bring about violent accidents as well. Mars rules like cuts or collisions, also, aggression or fighting, and Neptune brings confusion. So this is, a potentially very chaotic combination. So I would just say to proceed with, caution, moderation, common sense. Make sure you're staying grounded in yourself, and then that way you can utilize the more creative or inspirational sides of these aspects, and then reduce the potential for the aggressive or belligerent, violent side or confusing side to these aspects. Going forward to Wednesday, January 12th. Moon makes the exact trine with Sun and then Pluto on this day, so that's really nice. Especially with this is a waxing gibbous moon, meaning that it's gaining light and it's trining the Sun basically. So generally speaking, whenever the moon trines the Sun, it sets a really positive, stable, harmonious vibe to the day. So that's really great, and especially moon being exalted in Taurus, and it's by now it's pretty far from Uranus, so the energy is much more stable than it was on Tuesday. So generally speaking, I really do like this. It looks like a stable, positive day, really. Mercury is at 10 degrees Aquarius, and so it's preparing to station retrograde. So it's pretty much stationary, meaning that it's not moving. So we might be a little bit headstrong or communicating or thinking in a very direct and impacting way, which can be a little bit heavy at times, but it can also be, there's like more meaning in our words and our thoughts at this time because the energies of Mercury are strengthened as it slows down and it's intensified. So generally speaking, putting all that together, I think it's a pretty stable, um, pleasant vibe to the day, but there may also be some intensity with our thinking and communication. And then later in the day, the moon actually enters Gemini. Moon does pretty well in Gemini as well. Things get a little bit more light and playful, and the moon will prepare to trine Mercury. So that's really excellent as well. That I think that continues a pleasant vibe. It just kind of changes it. It results in us being a little bit more whimsical and playful, and maybe more chatty, uh, more, I don't know, playful. So yeah, Wednesday looks generally really strong, really nice, generally speaking. Going forward to Thursday, January 13th, Moon by now is definitely in Gemini, and it will make that trine to Mercury, which is sort of interesting because, like I said, it's about to turn retrograde. So right before Mercury turns retrograde, the Moon in Gemini makes this trine to Mercury. And so this is kind of nice, I think, especially because Capricorn, as we experience the sun transiting through Capricorn in this general time of year in early January, it can be kind of heavy, it can be kind of serious. I think it's an energy that's difficult for many of us to work with. Especially in the northern hemisphere, in the northern latitudes, there can be seasonal depression and things like that. It's literally a dark time of year. So I think having this Mercury in Aquarius Moon in Gemini making the trine to Mercury in Aquarius, it brings about a lot of lighter energy. So we can almost feel like it's not such a heavy time of year. Like we can be more adaptable, playful, mercurial. So maybe more curious, more chatty, more socially involved, more joking around, more jovial. And also combining Gemini and Aquarius, it also makes us more experimental. So that's part of the playfulness is we're kind of just I don't know, doing things just to get a reaction or just to see what will happen. There's this experimental nature to both of these signs. So this looks like a very fun, quirky, eccentric um, mood for the day, I would say. And again, it's sort of a nice break from that heavy, more serious Capricornian energy. Not that there's anything wrong with Capricorns. If you're a Capricorn sun, they're awesome people. It's just that when we experience that energy, it is one of the more challenging energies ruled by Saturn. So this is kind of a nice, uh, more light, playful kind of break from that heavier energy. Going forward to January 14th, Friday, Moon is still in Gemini. Mercury now turns retrograde at 10 degrees Aquarius. So it's still pretty much stationary. So, when a planet turns retrograde, it doesn't just immediately, it doesn't just start going forward and then suddenly shift and go backward. It slows down, pretty much stops for a few days with Mercury, where it's hardly moving at all, and then it gradually goes backward. So Mercury is hardly moving at all this week, but it does technically start moving backward on Friday. So what that means is that, our Mercury rules our thinking, our communication, also our short distance travel. It also rules a lot to do with technology. So all of that will slow down and intensify this week. And then starting on Friday, it will kind of shift into a new direction. And we experience this as chaos because our society and the way we work, the way we design our lives, the way we want our lives to be is that we want everything to be planned and linear. We want to be productive and on all the time and working. And as Mercury turns retrograde, it's really it's really an energy that would be best utilized if we slow down and rest and reflect. But of course, we are not so much geared to do that. We want to be going all the time and doing stuff and productive all the time. So that's where it becomes chaotic, and that's where we experience the difficulties with Mercury retrograde. So really, as Mercury turns retrograde here, moral of the story is, just allow yourself to kind of reflect and unwind because there's really a lot of substance that can be gained. There's a lot of creativity and intuition that comes from retrograde periods, especially Mercury retrograde. And really, that's what it's all about. So in short, yes, it will be chaotic if you are trying to go full speed ahead because Mercury's just not supporting that. It's a slower, more internal energy that's starting to come about now. Okay. Going forward. Oh, and I must say too, it is nice that Mercury turns retrograde right before the weekend because we do get that initial break for those of us that don't work on weekends. Um, so it would be nice to kind of use this to slow down over the weekend and unwind and adapt to this new Mercury retrograde energy. I do think that's kind of nice here. Let's see here. Okay, on Saturday, January 15th, Moon in Gemini. Well, Moon shifts from Gemini to Cancer. And as I sort of touched on the beginning of this video, this is especially, interesting or impacting just because we will have a full moon in Cancer on January 17th. So not in this week's forecast, but we're already beginning to feel the vibes of that as the moon enters Cancer. Um, if you see the moon on Saturday, it will appear pretty much full. It will appear almost full. And so that's why we're already experiencing that. And especially because this full moon is in Cancer, where it's in domicile, it's an especially strong full moon. So all the themes of a typical full moon are a little bit strengthened here. We're feeling more emotional, more wound up, more energized. There's more kind of chaos. Things are more theatrical or karmic. We experience almost like a culmination for full moons is a common way to describe it. So all of that is already beginning to be felt on Saturday. And so I think there really is a big shift as we enter the weekend because of that trine the moon makes with Mercury on Friday, or on Thursday rather, and then Mercury turning retrograde on Friday, and then the moon entering Cancer on Saturday. So as we enter the weekend, there is this huge shift, and I think the moon entering Cancer, it is a water sign. It's wanting to be more intuitive and emotional and more deep. And so this is actually a little bit similar to Mercury retrograde's themes as well. So we kind of have a 1-2 punch. Both are resulting in similar themes as we enter the weekend of wanting to slow down and go back. Cancer is attracted to what it is already familiar with. It likes to be, comfortable. It likes to be in its comfort zone. And it likes to kind of reflect and ponder and think about the past. So this goes hand in hand with the Mercury retrograde. So as a whole, just to summarize that, as we enter the weekend, it really looks like it is a full moon, so it is early active time, but at the same time, the energies are really supporting us reflecting more. So there's kind of a uh, a contradiction. There's a contradiction because we're experiencing these high vibes, the high energy of the upcoming full moon, but at the same time, the moon and Mercury are wanting us to slow down and reflect. So I won't lie to you. I do think this has potential for being very chaotic. But that's why, this information is valuable because if we know that this is coming up, then it doesn't have to be chaotic. We can kind of allow ourselves to be more thoughtful or kind of reflective and just be aware of these upcoming changes. It's nothing massive or life changing, but I do think it can be initially shocking as we go into the weekend just because it will be very different. So as long as you know that this change is coming and allow yourself to kind of go with the flow and adapt, you can actually take advantage of this, and this is a really great time for spirituality, inspiration, looking at things differently, gaining sort of insight. And this is the type of insight that you gain not through having new experiences necessarily. It's just insight you gain from slowing down and just kind of digesting what has already occurred. Um, it's common before Mercury retrograde periods that Mercury travels very fast, and so the area that it just traveled over, it symbolizes a lot of things that we don't have understanding of. A lot has happened over the past few weeks that we don't really understand. We haven't integrated. We haven't had a chance to relax really, and so these energies are working on giving us an opportunity to relax and gain that clarity and insight if we so choose to use it, basically. All right, I know there's a lot there, but we're almost done here. And so, lastly, going into Sunday, January 16th, Moon is still, of course, in Cancer, and it's not making that full moon aspect, that opposition to the Sun. It's not there quite yet. It's very close, but that full moon will technically be on Monday. Um, But as for Sunday, the moon will make an opposition to Venus, and and then of course it's preparing to make that full moon aspect. So let's see here. So I think this just kind of it just strengthens a lot of what I already said. A lot of what began on Saturday is strengthening. So we're feeling that increased energy and tension, that restlessness, that karmic energy, the theatrical, the drama that comes with a full moon, especially a full moon in Cancer, where all the emotions are very ripe and on full display, if you will. There's this huge culmination. This is already very much gearing up, and moon in Cancer is very potent, so we're definitely feeling that. We're definitely all very aware of what we're feeling at this time, and that can be good or bad. I mean, that can be difficult because it can be hard to have strong emotions. Emotions can be unpleasant, but it can also be good. It could be good to know where we stand and to have that emotional intelligence. So it just depends on how you kind of utilize this energy here. Also, very importantly, though, Sun will cross over Pluto on this day. You can see them conjunct at 26 degrees Capricorn. And so this is somewhat brief. Sun travels about 1 degree per day. So this mostly just applies to Sunday. But Sun crossing over Pluto can be difficult. Pluto is one of the more difficult energies. This may affect us more on a global level, so more of like a subconscious and long term or big picture type of level. But it can be very dark. It can be difficult because Pluto requires transformation from a fundamental inside level. You have to, change what you are or what you're doing on a very fundamental level. And that can be, of course, very challenging. Pluto is sort of a destroyer. It destroys what is not of integrity or what is no longer working. And that's, of course, good, but it's still difficult because it requires change. Sometimes, even though what's going on might be unhealthy or unproductive or even abusive, it can still be difficult for that to change because we've gotten used to it. We've grown accustomed to it. So this is a more difficult aspect. It can make us a little bit more pessimistic, and it could result in events on a global or political level. America is about to experience its Pluto return, so meaning that Pluto has gone almost one full cycle around the zodiac since the time of America's birth, so to speak. Um, and I know that's a long time. Pluto takes about 250 years to go all the way around the zodiac. So, and I could do a whole video on that, but basically what it means is that as Pluto reaches that point, America itself needs to dramatically transform on a very fundamental level. It must either transform on a fundamental level or be completely destroyed, because that's basically how Pluto works. Either way, it will be a new incarnation of the country, of the nation. So Pluto is not exactly at that conjunction yet, but it's 1 degree away, and so it's close enough that, especially combined with this full moon that's coming up, it could result in some kind of shocking event with the United States, something having to do with this transformation that needs to occur, that has been building for years, that we all feel, basically. So yes, that is kind of heavy, that is intense, and we might be a little bit more pessimistic. And especially, like I said, with these changes between Mercury and the Moon, if those catch us off guard, and then we experience the Sun Pluto conjunction, I think this could definitely make us feel paranoid, confused, negative, cynical. That would be the negative side to this. I think, again, especially if it catches you off guard. But if it's something that you're aware of and you allow yourself to settle into this change, because all it is change, really, um, then in that case, this can be an excellent opportunity for gaining insight and awareness and for adjusting to a shift that's occurring, basically. So that's pretty much what I have for this week. There's a lot of stuff happening next week. So hold on, I'm doing this for a marker for myself. There's a lot of stuff happening next week. There's not only the full moon, but also Uranus is turning direct. The nodes are changing signs, which is something that not a lot of people know about, but it is very impacting. Sun also enters Aquarius next week as well. So a lot of change next week, so hang in there. But hopefully this information helps you, and I appreciate you watching. I'll see you later.